Recording has started of this webinar. So welcome to Digital Marketing 101. Before you get into digital marketing, I'd like to set a framework and run a quick poll to all of y'all. I'd like to understand why you have attended this webinar. So if you'll take a few minutes to answer this question, I'll be really grateful. It's very simple. I just want to understand why you are attending this webinar. Whether, number one, whether you're a doc when it comes to digital marketing and therefore you want to do it, or whether you know a bit but would like to know more, or you know a lot but want to know what more I can learn, or whether you are already a know-it-all but you're here to have some fun. So whichever way, I can get to see that only about 33% of you all have voted. A lot of you all haven't voted. But nevertheless, I'll shut the poll and we'll get right down to business. The first thing that we're going to talk about in this webinar is, let's take a quick look at the agenda. So we'll quickly take an overview of what digital marketing is all about before we take on the various buckets or components of digital marketing. We'll start with on how to create an online presence for your brand or for your company or for your client. We will touch upon search engine optimization so that all of us have a little bit of idea about, we have heard this term, SEO term being used a lot. But what exactly is SEO and how important it is and what it impacts the marketing of a brand or a company, we will explore this area. Third thing that we'll touch upon is advertising itself, that is largely online advertising. The fourth thing that we'll talk about is the entire gamut of social media, which I think is something each of y'all will love to be part of because of the fact that each one of us are very active on social media. Lastly, we'll talk about email marketing and how important email marketing is in the entire gamut of online and digital marketing. We'll wrap the session up with a Q&A session. So this is the agenda for today. I would, at the end of the seminar or end of the webinar, we'll also have a quick survey of how y'all have like both the content and the delivery as well as the experience of the webinar, and I hope that we have a greater degree than a 33% vote that we got for the first poll. So let's quickly get into what is digital marketing and an overview of digital marketing. Let's look at what is the internet user growth. If you look at the fact that today out of a population of the world has a population of close to about 7 billion. Out of 7 billion, 3 billion people are on the internet. Now for any marketer or for any business, that's a very, very large audience size. In 2005, we had the first billion user. It took 5 years to double that to the second billion user. It took just 4 years to get the third billion user. And it is projected by 2017, we'll have the 4 billion user online. Now that's a very, very large market of consumers who are digitally connected. And as a result, no brand or company in the world today can afford to ignore this medium. And as marketing people ourselves, it is very critical that if we have not embraced digital marketing, we need to embrace it immediately and wholeheartedly. This is the overall world scenario. Let's just quickly take a look at what the Indian scenario is when it comes to the internet growth. You look at it here. China today leads the number of internet users. There's about 640 million internet users in China. That, you can imagine, it's larger than the United States, India and Japan put together. So we are talking about a market size which is bigger than the United States, India and Japan in terms of sheer number of people who are connected on the internet. India is the third largest internet user base in the world today. and it is among the fastest growing internet base. So out of a population of about 1.2 billion, we have about 240 million people today in India who are connected on the internet. We are projected to overtake United States in 2015 in terms of number of internet users. So we will be the second largest country in the world with the number of internet users. But what does it mean in terms of when it comes to marketing? Traditionally, most marketers have been extremely bad digital marketers because marketing and the traditional format works in a very different style as opposed to digital marketing. In the traditional model of marketing, it largely works on this principle that I think is called hope it works marketing, where we primarily select a target audience, we create a communication, we select the various media vehicles, whether it's TV, print or outdoor, and then we beam the messages out and we hope our consumers respond to the message that we do. The impact is, the net result of that fact is that if it doesn't work, we end up losing both time, effort and money. That's the traditional method of marketing, and that holds true for no matter which country you're in, which product category you're looking at, or no matter what your budget is. You simply hope that whatever you're doing actually works. But digital marketing is a little different from the way traditional marketing is done. In digital marketing, for instance, you don't just select your target audience, you segment your target audience. Today the internet allows me to segment my audience in any which way I want. I can segment them by age, I can segment them by sex, I can segment them by demographics to the extent that I know which country I want to target. I can target them by city, I can even target them by locality, which means that today if I am selling pizzas in GK1, I can send out a communication only to people who live in GK1 and run a special offer. No other medium allows me to do this. I can create multiple messages for different segments. So if I am talking to a 14-year-old kid, I can send a different set of communication as opposed to I'm talking to a 44-year-old man. I can have multiple digital mediums in which to send this message on. And most importantly, I can even track the responses in real time. Now what is real time? Real time is today if I send out a message as I'm speaking now, in the manner in which I conduct a poll, I'm immediately able to track the response of that poll immediately in real time. That's what the advantage of what digital marketing does. No other medium, advertising medium or marketing medium allows us to track responses in real time. And what's the best part of it? I can not only track to know what's working and what's not working, but I can even correct things in real time. That's what digital marketing is all about. Your money in the end of the day works much harder in delivering a real ROI, which is why today more and more companies are spending much larger dollars on the digital marketing spend, and we'll see a little down the line the kind of spend companies today are making in digital marketing vis-a-vis traditional modes of advertising or traditional modes of marketing. Quickly moving on to the next aspect, let's look at a very interesting chart that I thought I'll put up, which is the digital marketing ecosystem. I'm sure each of you will find this a little bit confusing, but that's not to worry. Like any other form of marketing, digital marketing can also be extremely confusing to anybody who is doing it for the first time. So if you look at this, there are various aspects of digital marketing which people look at. So there's social media marketing, there's social advertising platforms, you have social intelligence platforms, you have social TV, you have social commerce and blogging platforms, content sharing platforms, and this is all just one aspect of digital marketing which largely revolves around the social media angle. It can be very confusing to somebody because of the sheer fact that there are multiple ecosystems at work. There are endless possibilities. Technologies are completely and daily evolving. What worked or what was popular 7 or 8 years back need not necessarily be popular today. And it is constantly evolving. So as a digital marketer, you not only need to know what's current today, but you need to have an eye for around the corner in terms of technologies and media vehicles which are evolving and which are catching people's fancies and attention. Because that's how you are able to keep yourself on top of the learning curve as well as the marketing curve. We'll broadly touch, in today's session, we'll broadly touch about 6 buckets of digital marketing. We'll touch upon advertising, e-commerce, the website, social media, search, and I'll share with you several tools and tracking mechanisms that as a digital marketer you need to keep in mind when you actually get into doing digital marketing. So let's quickly go into creating an online presence. Now what's an online presence? An online presence is your presence or your brand presence on the internet. Now a brand could be a person, like Narendra Modi is a brand, or a brand could be a company or a product. When you're creating an online presence, there are 3 important aspects that you need to bear in mind. One is social, one is website, and one is content. Please remember, whatever you do on the internet is all about image projection. What people see, hear or read about you online is what they will perceive you as. It's well documented fact that both Barack Obama's elections win and as well as Narendra Modi's election win had to do a lot with the kind of online presence that both of them had created within their constituency. And it is all about creating an online reputation. And that's where digital marketing and creating an online presence comes really into force. So let's look at how do we do this. The first and fundamental thing is in terms of creating a website. Your website is your calling card or a visiting card. Not having a website is like saying I will do business, but I will not go out and meet anyone, I will not talk to anyone, I will not interact with anyone. You simply can't do business. And today, if you do not have a website, a good working website on the internet, you really are not having a digital presence. So what's the key things in creating a website? Many of us create websites as part of the work that we do for our clients. It's a functional thing, it works 24/7. A website fundamentally and primarily is a salesperson. So when you're creating a website, you need to look at things like why do you think your users will be coming to the website? Is it for information? Is it for help? Is it to buy? That's the reason today we do a lot of work with clients like Cisco and Microsoft. If you ever visited any of the Cisco site or a Microsoft site or any of the IT sites, you will be surprised and you will realize that it is filled with a lot of information because they have correctly identified that their product is a complex product. And a complex product requires information to be disseminated to users, and which is why the site is designed in such a manner to give information quickly and easily to people. Compare a Microsoft site or a Cisco site with that of the Google site. Google site is very, very clean and simple. It's just got a search bar where you can type. Because they have identified that the primary reason why somebody will come to Google is to search for something. And the idea is that let him search for it by simply typing something in it. So the fundamental thing is to set an objective as to what you want your website to actually do for you. Is it supposed to yield sales for me, leads for me, support or information? Once you have set the objective, the next thing is to select who is the target audience. Who is the target audience? What are the demographics? Are you targeting males, women, young adults or children? It's not just enough to just segment your target by age or demographics. It's also very critical when it comes to the design element, as we'll see later on in this presentation, to look at the psychographics. Are they the kind of people who are going to be early adopters of any particular brand or a particular product? Are they going to be opinion leaders? And as servicing people and as people in marketing, when you're designing a website, I would always suggest that you put down in your mind 5 top reasons why you believe your target audience will visit your website. Not more, not less. 5 key points. Because from this will emerge your content plan and the layout. The next, as I said, is once you have determined why your people are going to visit your website, you will then define your content plan. What is the content plan? The content is nothing but what will go into your site. And when designing a website, what you need to bear in mind is that, is the content available in-house or would you need it to be created? If it needs to be created, who will create it? Will the content change over time? How frequently will it change? And what will change in your content? Most people, when they're developing a website, don't spend much time in thinking about what the content is. The disadvantage of doing that is that creating a website, it becomes an expensive proposition, because today technologies are available by which you can change content on the website by yourself rather than depending on a third party. Just to give an example, some time back, if I remember correctly, we had created this small microsite for Cisco, and this was done by an external third party, which was one of our vendors who did the website. And I remember Sai had there were some changes to be made. Somebody's photograph had come. One of the speaker's photographs had come and that had to be uploaded. And unfortunately, although Sai had sent the content over to the web developer, I think took a fair amount of time to upload it. That's the problem when creating a site without looking at these fundamentals, is that it takes time, effort and money. Today technologies like content management systems, which we will read about in later stage, actually help the person to make the changes on the fly by himself. So if we had designed the site using a content management system, Sai himself could have uploaded the logo by himself all in a matter of 4 minutes or 5 minutes, rather than waiting for the web developer to make the changes. That's the advantage of understanding what digital marketing is and how, as marketers, we can use tools and techniques to make our lives simpler and easier. The next aspect of creating any website is what we call as a wireframe. Now, wireframing is nothing but an architectural drawing of what the website looks like. It's a layout, but it's not a layout from the kind what a Jesse or a Vijay would create, but it's essentially an architectural, like I mentioned, architectural site map. I'll show you a few examples of what a wireframe looks like in later stage. The benefit of making a wireframe is that it helps both programmers, designers and clients to understand how the overall flow of the website is and the content requirements. So what happens is that today a client, when it briefs you on creating a website, we typically call in the designer and we brief the designer that we need to create a website, without taking into consideration of what the site architecture should look like. had we defined, and as a result of which, when once the development is done, the client makes changes, or the designer has not understood what goes into it, it takes a lot of time. A wireframe essentially helps cut down the time to launch a website by making sure that everybody is on the same page. Today there are several tools that help in creating wireframes easily, which we'll look at again in subsequent slides. Very important aspect, technology. What is the technology that we will use to create a website? Are you going to use, I spoke very briefly of the content management system or the CMS system. Ideally, we should be using a CMS unless we do not intend to make any changes on the site, which takes us back to the first part of what is the content that you're going to be putting up on a site. Very important, .NET for instance is the most common and most widely used technology in creating websites. However, there's PHP and MySQL is also used, but .NET is simple. It's like .NET in the digital world is like a Maruti mechanic. You'll find .NET developers in every nook and corner in the world, and especially in India. So .NET developers come very cheap as opposed to any other technology. Then once the wireframe is approved, we then only get into coding and layout. As you can see, coding and layouting, which in a normal web development scenario comes very up in the process flow, actually is a very later stage phenomena. Because coding and layout are expensive proposition and time consuming propositions. So you would like to get everything cleared before you get into coding and layout. Last, and what is very leastly done by most people, is testing. Why do you want to test a website? Because obviously you don't want a website and get a lot of customer complaints, so you need to test your sites for links. Are the links all working? If your site is a little complex, are the algorithms in the back end working? Are the autoresponders, you might have set up a website to send out autoresponders when somebody registers. Are the autoresponders working properly? Is it coming in the right format? Are the user flow testing? Please remember, websites are created by humans, so it's common to have errors. So testing is the fundamental thing. And finally, we are ready to launch. Today, you can use a good hosting service provider like GoDaddy or Network Solutions. They're very good hosting providers. They will provide you with domain name, hosting space, as well as enough email IDs to run your website efficiently. You really do not need a support function or a support role to help you host a particular site. Today, a lot of things are do it yourself. So you just need to access it and do it yourself. Now, which brings us the question that should you go into do it yourself or what I call as DIFM, which is do it for me. India, the US and the Western world is a very strong DIY market because of the fact that labor is expensive proposition there. So people and consumers are evolved to doing it yourself. But India is a very strong do it for me market. So even if something is simple and easy to do, we will tend to ask somebody to do it for me. But DIY is ideal for small business owners who cannot and will not afford freelancers, as well as for small self-employed professionals who are technology enabled. So you don't need to understand technology for doing it yourself. A lot of stuff. I do not understand technology, but I have done a lot of stuff on my own, and it's very simple. You just need to have an open mind and a little bit of practice. You have complete platforms which provide hosting, email, social integration, website building, e-commerce integration, all on a DIY platform. We are, of course, in a do-it-for-me business, so we would obviously encourage our sites to typically go and do it for me so that they hire us. Two very good sites which I would recommend for all of you all ever. Please do try it. One is, of course, GoDaddy, which all of you all would have seen Mitunda dancing on screen as well as on Facebook. The second is a site called Weebly. What Weebly does is essentially helps you build your own site in less than 20 minutes. So it's a complete system. It's based on WordPress, which is the content management system, and you can create your own website completely on your own professionally looking website, completely without anybody knowing that it has not been done by a website designer. We'll look at the other tools which are also there. Wix is another tool which is again a website builder, and these are all pay as you go mediums, which means that depending on what you want to use it, the monthly payment that you make to them or an annual payment that you make to them. You have web.com. Let's look at other aspects or terminologies which I believe you all should very important for you all to understand. So we look at wireframing, which I've talked about a little bit. You will hear this frame called UI, which stands for user interface, and UX, which stands for user experience. When creating a website for any client, it's very important to bear in mind all three of them. So wireframing, as we already spoke about, involves creating a skeleton of a website without getting into coding and expenses. UI, or the user interface, defines how the user will interface and interact with the website. So a lot of design goes into this, and the last is of course UX or user experience, which defines the experience and user journey. Now, each of these three things are multi-million-dollar businesses in the US. There are products which only cater to these three aspects. There's a very good quote by Steve Jobs which I thought was very appropriate, and that's largely the reason for Apple's great success, where he says design is not just what it looks like and feels like, design is how it works. So when Apple designs a product, they bear in mind a lot of aspects of user experience. For them, the experience is what will drive the product features as well as the product itself. And that's the primary reason why Apple has always been very different from what's available in the market. Some of the tools that you could probably look at using for the website creation, I've identified some tools here which you all could look at. There are wireframing tools like Balsamiq mockups. I have used Balsamiq mockups myself. It took me all of half a day to understand how to use it. Very simple. You can use it to create website creations as well as mobile application screens. There's Mockflow, there's mockups, and a whole lot of people. For UI and user interface, there's 4UI, Designer Vista, Pattern Tab, again very easy to use software tools. And I have at the bottom given a link where you have more than 60 tools that you could use which covers this entire gamut. Some of the tools are free, but most tools are worked on a freemium model, which is that it is free up to a trial period of 30 days or 60 days, or for a single user, and then you keep paying as you keep using it. I would suggest that you all look at some of these sites and probably try a hand at this. If nothing else, you will gain a lot of knowledge. Moving on, we'll get into content management system, which I talked about the importance. Content management system is nothing but a computer application that allows you to publish, edit, modify content from a centralized interface and avoid the need for coding. So if you need to make any changes on a website, you don't need to go back to the web development team and tell them, please change this little bit of copy here, please remove this visual and put in another visual. You can do it all yourself on the screen directly. So you simply replace the screen just as you would do on a PowerPoint or on anything. You upload it, and it helps you create a dynamic website. So what happens is that you can constantly keep changing the content of website without incurring additional costs. Whenever you are creating a website for any of our clients, I would strongly suggest that you use some CMS. There are lots of them. The most popular one is of course WordPress, but of course there's Drupal, there's Joomla, there's Concrete 5. All of them are good CMS. WordPress is easiest to use and obviously is the most popular in the world today. And so you can create blogs from WordPress, you can create websites out of WordPress. Weebly, for instance, what I mentioned, provides a website building platform using WordPress as the backend tool. So it's very, very easy to do. Moving on, very, very important thing in terms of when you're creating a website is to have analytics on your backend. It essentially helps you understand your traffic so that you can fine tune your site accordingly. You have details like Google Analytics is a free tool that you would use. Up to a certain limit it is free. If you want more complex analytics, you pay for it. But for most of us, 99% of us, I think the analytics that you get from Google is well enough. It tells you who came, from where he came, which country, which city, which locality, what he did on your site, how long he was there, whether he was new visitor, returning visitor, and essentially helps you track the user from the time he came to the website to the time he left the website. Which means that if you can imagine a retail store, having somebody, if you're shopping, having somebody follow you around to see which particular dress you picked up, which particular thing you handled, and giving that information back to the store owner. That's the kind of analytics a website or a group or a website analytics tool does for you. You can also integrate it with your advertising, so that if I advertise on Facebook, for instance, and I can track it that I showed my ad on Facebook, and as a result of which the person came to my website. When he leaves my website, I have analytics which can show him an advertising if he goes and, let's say, goes to a Yahoo or he goes to anywhere else. So that's the entire gamut of analytics. It's very, very useful and extremely, extremely powerful from a marketing perspective. So that's in a nutshell what online presence or creating a website is all about. We'll move in the second part, which is search engine optimization. This is more in the domain of the coding and the development team, but as a marketer or as a business owner, it's very, very important for each one of us to have a broad understanding of what is SEO. What's SEO? SEO is essentially the process of affecting the visibility of a website in search engine. All of us use Google, and important, and all of us want to make sure that our website comes on page 1 of Google. Hardly any one of us go beyond page 2 of Google. So how do you make sure that your website URL, if somebody is typing BTL agency, how do you ensure that impact marketing comes on page 1 of Google, falls under the domain of search engine optimization? And as a result, firms spend thousands of dollars just to make sure that their website address comes on page 1. Because obviously somebody is typing below the line marketing agency in Delhi, he's looking for somebody, he or she is looking for interacting with that agency. And if impact marketing were on page 1 of Google, obviously the inquiries would come to us as opposed to the competition. All of the search engine optimization is done largely keeping Google search algorithm in mind. That is not to say Google is the only search platform. You have Bing, you have Yahoo, you have Ask Me, but Google controls 90% of the search traffic. And therefore, most of the SEO work is done keeping Google algorithm. This is a very, very, very a complex site at first glance, but not to worry. I thought this particular slide gives a complete pictorial representation of what is SEO and how, as a marketer, when you're dealing with a programming team or a website development team, you can bear in mind. There are two aspects of any SEO. One is called the on-page factors, which is marked as number 1, and second is called off-page factors, is marked as number 2. On-page is those factors which are under control of your website development team, and off-page factors are those which are not under your direct control but which you can influence. So what are the on-page factors? You have things like, are the pages well written and do they have quality content? Please remember one very important thing. Earlier, what used to happen when people wanted to do search engine optimization, what they used to do is that they used to bury a whole lot of words behind the screen or the skin of the website. So if BTL marketing in Delhi is how people are searching impact marketing, in the olden days, and I say olden days, maybe 2 years ago, people used to bury just BTL marketing, BTL marketing agency in Delhi all over the front page in the backside so that the user doesn't see it, but Google search crawler, when he searches the web, only sees BTL marketing agency and therefore pushes up the page ranking. Of course, Google being Google, most search engines get wise to such tactics. Google's latest search algorithm, each year they change the search algorithm, just like Chor Police. So the search algorithm keeps changing, and the SEO team needs to keep looking at ways to break the search engine algorithm and flaunt it. So a lot of stuff which I'll not get into this in detail. You have to look at it, self-explanatory. If you look at this particular slide, there are on the on-page SEO, you'll see alphabets like a CQ, which is the top left. Now CQ, you can look at what is CQ. CQ stands for quality, and there's a small number called +3. Now, if you look at it, all the threes are factors. All the threes, if you take care of it, you will have solved yourself about 60%, 70% of SEO problems will get solved. Moving on, analytics, there are several tools that let you know how good your SEO is currently. If you look at the bottom of the screen, I did the SEO score for agency on net. As you can see, it's a pretty low score. It's at 48 out of 100. That's because we haven't done any on-page SEO as yet. Most of the score has been driven by off-page SEO. There are a lot of free tools available like checkpagerank.net, which help you look at what your SEO score. So if you're looking at if your website team is doing an SEO optimization campaign for you, what you could possibly do is use these tools to see how well they have done the job. If they haven't done the job, you could point out what they have done. So that's the fundamental aspect of SEO analytics. We'll not spend too much time on SEO other than to give you all an overview of what it is. We'll quickly move on to advertising, which I'm sure is something which of interest to all of y'all. We spoke earlier about looking at how the ad revenue spends in India are. So if you look at the screen where you have the digital marketing. So if you look at it, the digital spend is growing on an average of 30% CAGR. And from 2011, it was only 15 billion Indian rupees. It has climbed to 57 billion rupees. It's the fastest growing medium. Whereas print and television is growing at only at 11% and 14%. This is growing at 29 or 30%. What's driving it? Largely the speed of delivery. The people know that I can get instant results. There's a lot of ROI emphasis, as you will know, real-time analytics, and obviously extreme targeting possibilities. But it's very confusing. The display advertising technology landscape is pretty confusing. At first glance, you have media buying agencies or desks, as you call it. You have ad networks, ad exchanges, you have targeted networks, you have horizontal networks, you have retargeting platforms, and a whole lot of terminologies. We won't get into those terminologies, but the basic idea is the fact that today, if you want to do advertising, there are essentially three formats in which you do advertising. One is text-based advertising, which goes into search engine marketing, where largely we try to ensure that our advertising is visible in text form in publishers' networks. Or you have the display advertisement, which is basically a banners, which goes basic animation is possible in these banners. And then you have rich media, which is largely interactive, and allows video and music to play. Today, a lot of movement is happening in the interactive sense in the rich media advertising, because that's what is drawing consumers. So you have video advertising as a big business today. Moving on, let's take a look at some of the delivery mechanisms of advertising. You have essentially two ways by which delivery of the advertising is done. One is you have independent publishers. So you might buy space or banners in a Yahoo, eBay, XYZ firm or an online website, or you could use an ad network. All of us have used Google with our clients, but Google is not just the only ad network available. There are several other ad networks which are as good as Google and probably cheaper in many sense, and probably may offer you more targeted options than a Google ad network. So you could advertise in multiple sites with a single ad serving platform. An ad network allows you also to track and do analytics in real time. A quick look at what are the various ways by which you buy media today, starting from the cheapest to the most expensive, and the terminologies. CPM stands for cost per impression, which means that if the ad is shown to people, you will pay it, no matter whether they have done anything with the ad. So that's the cheapest form of advertising online. Then you have CPC, which is cost per 1,000 clicks, which is that if somebody clicks on the advertising, just shut this. There you go. Cost per 1,000 clicks. That is when you click, you pay for it. You have CPL, cost per 1,000 leads, where you pay per lead. Or you could have a CPA, which is cost per 1,000 acquisition. So that which means that today you can pay for people only when you acquire customers. What you will end up choosing will largely depend on a campaign objective. Moving on, the support ecosystem, I will not spend too much time on this. You have tools that help you in creative optimization. So when you're creating ads or advertising, they will actually help you optimize those ads so that you get a better ROI out of your advertising. You have retargeting platforms, which enables you to retarget visitors after they've come to your website and they go to some other website. They are called retargeting platforms. You have measurement and analytics platforms. Google Analytics is a great, again, analytics platform. Moving on to social media. Again, my favorite chart, which is ecosystem. Today there are over 350 social media sites. So don't think Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter are the only sites people go to. It's the fastest growing space within the internet medium. Hardly 7 years old or 8 years old. So depending today on who your consumers is, you could splice your social media marketing effort and engage consumers in your 350 odd social media sites. I have somebody, Sairam has left. Sairam has asked, please share the PPT. I will unfortunately not share the PPT. If you do not, if two people This is largely meant for people to listen and not watch a PPT. We'll move on quickly. There, essentially, if you look at plotted the social media, you have B2B oriented social media. So you have LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Quora, blogging, and Sing, which are some popular B2B oriented sites. You have B2C and your vertical focused social media. So Pinterest is very strong in the US. It's largely women oriented. You have Flickr, you have Instagram, you have Airbnb, you have Genie, you have Habu, and you have a whole lot of other social media sites. Quick look at if you are doing social media, two aspects that you need to remember. Engagement is critical. There's this concept called I, me, myself versus you, yourself, and us. So social media is all about, not about I, me, myself, but it's more about you, yours, and us. So it's all about engagement. To give an example, if you look at the two social media posts that I picked up from the internet, both from the same company, Portia Medical. The first one, which talks about World Brain Day, if you notice, has got far greater degree of engagement from their audience as opposed to their post which says that we are coming to the second largest city in Tamil Nadu and asking people to guess which has got some 35 people liking it. So content and engagement is what is critical. So the more you engage with the consumers, the more likely you are to get them on your site. Second and third rule is very, very important. Content is very important, both in terms of relevancy of the content as well as the content format. When you are doing niche social media, you need to bear in mind the network of not just which network you are in, but how you are creating your own network and how you are leveraging that network to grow your business. Very quickly on, because we're running out of time, so very quickly on various 6-step process on social media planning. One is obviously in setting up the objective. What's your objective in social media? Are you building a community? Are you engaging with the community? Or do you want to sell to the community? Or do you want to build a thought leadership? So basis this, you will set the next thing in deciding which platforms you want to go to. And you will select the platforms basis what kind of a business are you? Are you a B2B business, which is a business to business, or are you a B2C company? And very fundamentally, it's always good to be strong in one or two key social media platforms, then be weak in several ones. Do not spread yourself thin by saying I will be on LinkedIn and Facebook and G+ and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram. You will fail miserably. Just choose one or two primary ones, and secondary ones could be less important ones. Third is important thing aspect is in terms of communication strategy, which defines what you want to say and the manner in what you say, which brings us to the important aspect that would you be using, how would you be using this, in what format would you be using it? Would you be largely using it in text, visual, infographics, or video? A lot of aspects will then define your content. So if your content is going to be in terms of visual content, then you need to be clear in terms of that, do I have the capacity or the capability to build regular visual content? If I do not have the capability, then it's best to stick to a textual or a non-video led content. Also very important, what is the frequency, periodicity, and the format? Very important thing is to calendarize your content. There are tools available today which allows us to calendarize content, put the content up once a week, and that content will then get distributed automatically into the social network that we are using. For instance, all the social media work that I handle, I look at I am present at least about 6-7 social media sites, both personally as well as professionally. I manage all of them through one common content management system, which makes my life very, very easy. I don't need to spend more than half an hour a day on that. Moving on, very, very important to look at is whether you're going to have an in-house social media team or an external social media team. And of course, last and not the least is tracking of your social media. Again, tracking, as I mentioned in digital marketing, is to my mind the most fundamental and most critical thing that you need to be doing. Very, very interesting thing. There's this concept called the clout. I would suggest, if you're on social media, please go to this website called clout.com. Clout, as the word suggests, tells you how strong are you on social media and gives you a score. The score defines how popular you are, how many people are following you, and if you put up a post, how regularly will other people look at it. So let's look at what other people's scores are. To give an example, my clout score is 53 out of 100. That's my clout score on social media. So I am strictly above the average clout score. Let's look at some very, very important people. Katrina Kaif has got 61, has score of 61. So I am not too far behind Katrina in terms of a clout score. I am 53, she is 61. So that's only 8 points difference between both of us, which is not too bad. But look at Sunny Leone. Sunny Leone has got a score of 82. Obviously, Sunny Leone seems to be far, far more popular than Katrina Kaif. Very surprisingly, Sunny Leone and Shah Rukh Khan both share the same clout score, 82. Sachin Tendulkar, no surprises here, has a clout score of 88. Amitabh Bachchan and Narendra Modi have a clout score of 89. But what's interesting, Justin Bieber has a clout score of 92. And the killer of them all is one man in this world who has a clout score of 99. Any guesses who that person is? It's Barack Obama with a clout score of 99. That just goes to the anything that Barack Obama does on social media gets instantly disseminated across the globe. Some other tools that you could look at are two very good. Hootsuite is a tool that I use to manage all my social media accounts. It's very cheap and it's very easy to use. There are similar tools like Hootsuite. Hootsuite is the world's most popular package. There's Sprout Social, which you could also use Cloud to manage your social media. Coming to the last part of this webinar, you have the email marketing. No brainer here. 144 billion emails are sent out every day. It is obviously the most used as well as the most abused marketing technique on the internet today, primarily because it's very cheap and economical, so most people send it out. It's very fast and above all it works. You can't afford to ignore it. It has to be integral into the marketing mix. And quickly 6 steps. One is obviously having a database. My suggestion is always have a database, but always also look at third-party commercially rent out. Available data records are today available from very professional list vendors. You could also tie up with affiliate publishers like a Yahoo or like a Gmail or like any other website which sends out newsletter. They would offer you opt-in commercial mailing. So for instance, I could rent out the mailing database of agency FAQs and send out mailers to people. So they're all available to us. You need to create a subject line. No brainer here. The subject line is the most important aspect which gets you. So when you're sending an email, the first fundamental thing is how do I get the person to open my email? It's because only after we open the email will he read it. So unless I get him to open it, and opening an email is completely 100% dependent on 2 aspects: who is sending and what is the subject line. So if who is sending, there are a lot of, in fact, a lot of deep statistics, but one big learning which I'd like to share with everybody is that do not send from IDs like mail to so-and-so or support at so-and-so. Always send an email from a personal or a person mail ID. So it could be anybody. It could be Jessica, it could be Robin, it could be Dharmender, whatever. they will tend to get seen more importantly by people than if you send it from support, because of two reasons. Number one, all email clients, whether it's Outlook, whether it's Gmail, whether it's Yahoo, have something called a spam filter. So your spam filter tends to recognize certain mail IDs and treat them as spam. So one way to avoid it being treated as spam is to use a personal mail ID. The second important thing is to use the right subject line. Words like free, win, price, etc. will all be treated as spam by the spam filters, and it will all either get blocked or it will go to the spam folder. Avoid very lengthy subject lines. Most email clients, whether it's Outlook, whether it's Gmail, when you see the subject line, it's all truncated to about 50 to 60 characters. So your core messaging of a subject line needs to come in the 50 to 60 characters. And obviously, personalized email subject matters will get a maximum open rates. Once after opening it, what you definitely need to avoid is something which looks like this. I have seen a lot of things where emails are sending like this. In fact, I'm quite sure that most of the emails that we send out in impact marketing, other than to the clients, would probably be looking like this, which is because we have our emails are very, very visually heavy, and we do not optimize those emails. So in an Outlook or in a Gmail, unless I have configured my email to download pictures automatically, the email will come looking like this. How in the hell do we expect a good response if the email comes looking like this? We tell our clients, obviously clients do not know this. Clients don't care. Many clients don't care because the agency sends them a nice visual, they approve it, and they expect the same visual to go out. But very, very important is what one needs to do is actually do a lot of A/B testing to test out different subject matters to see which one gets a better response. Should I send out late in the morning, early in the morning, late evening? And like I talked about email design, there's a process by which an email can be designed in such a manner that even if the pictures are blocked, your core messaging is not lost out. There are tools available today which allows us to test our email on different browsers as well as different email clients. Most popular email design tool is something called Asset. It's something called Asset, email on Asset, which actually tests this out in about 71 different email clients and all the browsers, including mobile browsers. So what happens is that when you design your email according to that, you are ensured that your customer, your end customers or your client customers gets to see the best email possible, which will improve your response rate. Very important thing is to have a clear call to action, and obviously having a comprehensive email campaign management tool. I know we use an email management campaign management tool. It's certainly not the best in the world because it doesn't have the kind of tracking which I have seen other tools have. MailChimp, for instance, is an extremely popular tool tracking device, email campaign management device. Essentially tells who opened what device, which client, which browser, who clicked, what they clicked on, and helps you improve on your email marketing campaign. That's a wrap up on this webinar. We have covered things like advertising, social media, search, website, tools, and tracking, and as well as we will not touch upon e-commerce. That's a mistake here. This is coming from the next presentation webinar that I've planned on 21st. So we will look at the next one. If there's any questions anybody has, now's the time. Now's the time to ask me. I am prepared to answer any questions. But before that, let me quickly have another poll running. If anybody could answer this, very, very simple. Are you connected to any of your clients? I want to just understand how connected each one of us are with our prospective clients. I've got a 25% vote. So assuming that I've got 5 people, I have got 4 people. A lot of people have dropped out already. No bad, no sweat. I got a 50% vote on this. Okay, so I'll close the vote on this right now. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take it. Any questions? Anyone? You're free to ask me. Since the number of audience is low, I'll also unmute everyone at present. Yes, I can hear a lot of background. I guess nobody has any questions, or people are busy somewhere else. Yes, I have a question. Nobody has any question. Thanks, Mahesh. I understand that you have no question. Okay, thank you guys for attending this webinar. The webinar will end with a short survey which you all will get. I would appreciate if you all answer the survey. And thank you once again. And I wish you a great evening ahead. Goodbye. Thank you.